Guys, a big happy welcome to my gorgeous kitchen, where today I'm going to show you how to make beautiful panna cotta. Now, panna cotta is one of my favorite desserts, and it's easier than you think. So stand by, and I'm going to show you everything you need to know to succeed with this beautiful dessert every single time. So panna cotta is one of the easiest desserts you will ever make. Now, it's not only easy to make, but it's actually very cost effective. And if you're planning a big dinner party, you can actually make this either the day before, at least 6 hours before, or even 3 days in advance. So that's really going to help you when you have those dinner parties that might end up being quite stressful. Now, it's also only a few different ingredients, and you can actually make these your own and actually change the flavor, the way you present it, and even in the accompaniments, making this a different dessert every time, which makes it very clever and very sexy. Now, that was 800 mils of dairy cream. You can also make this completely dairy free. If you want to substitute that 800 mils of the dairy cream for a coconut cream, you can absolutely do that without changing the recipe at all. I'm also going to add some full cream milk, and what I'm doing is that's about 200 mils of the full cream milk, and all we need to do to that is boil it. Now, this is one of the most important things I can teach you about panna cotta. You should always sniff the cream and milk before you boil it, just making sure everything is fresh. But when we boil this panna cotta up, and it doesn't take too long, so you do need to stand by and make sure that you stir it. But what happens when we boil that cream and milk is you get that beautiful subtle change where the milk and the cream all of a sudden smell like custard. Now, that is a very important point. And if you don't do that, your panna cotta is not going to be as tasty as it should be. So make sure that you do it. Now, when it comes to sweetening your panna cotta, you can, of course, use good old-fashioned white sugar. But if you're on a different diet and you wanted to use honey or stevia or even maple, you could do any of those as well. So, of course, in your recipe, this is perfectly measured. I sort of just sweeten it to taste. At this stage, we can also add vanilla. But if you wanted to do something a little bit more glamorous, or if you've done vanilla 100 times and you wanted to try something new, we could start adding things like cardamom pods, star anise, all sorts of beautiful things into that cream and milk while it's cold, right at the beginning of the cooking process, and that'll infuse and get all that beautiful flavor through there. So you could do cinnamon bark or anything. You can change this up as many times as you need. So like I said, make sure you stand by and stir this, because if we burn that, of course, we can't continue to use it and you'll have to start again. So stand by. So this is smelling absolutely amazing, guys. I wish you could smell it. And this is, like I said, the most important thing. So give it a nice sniff. You should be able to smell a very sexy custard indeed. And that is boiling right up. Now, you can, of course, add whatever flavor you want, but we're going to add some of the vanilla. And I just do a little easy squeeze out of that beautiful, this is a vanilla bean paste. I would either use a vanilla bean pod, which are quite difficult to get hold of sometimes, so I'm quite happy to use that beautiful vanilla bean paste, or a extract if you have that instead. We're going to stir it through, and like I said, all we're smelling now is that beautiful custard. And all we need to do now, there's one thing left to do. So that's when I say panna cotta is super, super easy if you know how. So this could become your new signature dish. There's only one little thing which most people are petrified of, and that is using leaf gelatine. Now, I always say I'm a gelatine snob. I can smell that nasty powdered gelatine a mile away. When we start using leaf gelatine, there is a definite step up in quality. So if this is a vanilla bean, this is a gelatine leaf, and of course, if you smell it, it's got absolutely zero smell. It's got zero flavor. In fact, it's got zero personality. All this thing does is set stuff for us. So that's where it comes in very handy. Now, you get different grades of gelatine, and what you would get from your local supermarket is generally a gold strength gelatine leaf, which is a 2-gram sheet. Now, the titaniums are generally a 5-gram sheet, so you would have to adapt this recipe. And this recipe remains super easy. It's got that 1 liter of liquid, so the 800 mils of cream, 200 mils of the milk. We've got that little bit of sugar, a little bit of that sexy vanilla, and then all we need to do is bloom the gelatine. Now, you've probably seen this in the movies. and have no idea what it means to bloom the gelatine. It's really simple though. So I've got my 4 gold strength gelatine leaves, and as you can see, and if you can hear, they're sort of crunchy. What we're going to do is just put that into some cold water. So just cold water out of the tap. It doesn't need to be iced water or anything. And those guys are just going to go underwater until they're nice and soft. So when I bring these out of the water in about a minute, it'll actually drop or hang like a wet tissue, and that's when you know they are ready. And then all we need to do is squeeze those out and add them to the hot liquid. If the liquid that you're blooming your gelatine in is warm, unfortunately, that is the liquid you're going to be setting, and it's all going to melt into there. So just tap cold water is absolutely fine. So that's been in there just a little bit less than a minute, but it's nice and soft, and all I need to do is squeeze out the excess water, and then we can stir that straight into there. So very easily done, guys. So don't stress about using leaf gelatine. You know, you can walk into your supermarket and confidently grab one of those packs of leaf gelatine. Generally, you'll get 12 sheets of a gold strength gelatine in there. So that'll actually make 4 batches of this panna cotta, which is very economical if you think about it. That stirs in very quickly. If you're using a vanilla bean pod or anything like a cinnamon quill or anything like that, you would need to strain this out, but this is ready to go into the jars. Now, in most recipes, they will tell you to grease out a dariole mold. Now, this is the correct vessel to set your panna cotta in, but I always say dariole molds. I've seen enough of them, so I wanted to do something a little bit more fashionable and easier for you later, because we won't have to pop the panna cotta out. We're going to do them in beautiful, you can do this in a sexy little jar, or even one of these beautiful wine glasses or champagne flutes. So you can really change this up quite a few different times, and your guests will never have to know that you are rehashing the same idea. Now, it's good to have a precision pour, so I'm going to transplant from the pot that lovely hot liquid. And at this stage, you could have strained that if there was anything in there like a vanilla pod or a cinnamon quill or anything like that. And then we can actually pour that quite easily into one of these little sexy waiting glass vessels. Now, like I said, this is something you should do either the day before or at least 6 hours before, because what we need to do with this is let this come down to a room temperature, and then it can go into your fridge. So never try and do this about 20 minutes before you need it, because it unfortunately is not going to set. With gelatine work as well, the only things that don't really set with gelatine would be things like kiwi fruit and pineapple. So try not to make one of those flavors for your panna cotta. Now, as you can see in this beautiful champagne flute here, I've left a little bit of space because we're going to do this as a loaded panna cotta. So even though the panna cotta all by itself is absolutely sensational, we can always make it look $10 more expensive just by adding some dessert bling. So we're going to do some toffee, possibly a pistachio gravel, and see how we can really make this exciting for you and your guests. Now, this is a vanilla panna cotta at this stage. If we wanted to, we could also make this chocolate. So I wanted to show you how versatile it is to change this dessert up again and again and again for your friends and family. Now, obviously, that's a really large block of beautiful chocolate that I have at my disposal. This is actually a 5-kilo block of chocolate, which is where most of my happiness stems from. And you can do this quite easily with a good quality chocolate block, your preferred chocolate. So all I'm going to do here is generally you could also get chocolate in a button or anything like that, but I'm going to use some chocolate curls here off this glorious block. The most difficult part is getting it open. So that there is beautiful. Now, if you're going to use beautiful quality chocolate, you're going to get a beautiful quality result. So what I'm going to do is just using my cleaver knife is get some of those lovely chocolate curls off my gorgeous, sexy chocolate block. And those are going to melt really easily into my still hot custard. You could at this stage also add a shot of espresso coffee. And if you wanted to make it boozy, of course, you could do that as well. Whenever you're adjusting or adding anything into your panna cotta, you always need to allow for it in your measurements. So for our 1 liter of liquid here, and this chocolate won't change that recipe, but if you're adding any other liquid, you are going to have to adjust a little bit. So our 1 liter of Panna Cotta liquid is going to take 4 sheets of that gold strength gelatine to melt it down. Now, I'm just going to put this over a low heat just to melt that chocolate a little bit. We do not want to boil our Panna Cotta though. So if you are making Panna Cotta, don't leave your gelatine to boil because it won't set it either. So I'm going to melt that chocolate in, pour it into there, and then these have to go into the fridge to set. So guys, as you can see, I've finished off those gorgeous little chocolate ones, and all I did was pour them into these very sexy glasses. The last thing you need to do is get them to room temperature, and then into the fridge they go, and they'll be ready for you in 6 hours. So obviously, guys, those Panna Cottas were far too easy for you guys to make. So I thought I'd make it a little bit more challenging and make sure that we have a very sexy little bit of culinary bling to go on the top of these. So when we eat a Panna Cotta, the most beautiful thing about it is that sexy little wobble that we get from just that slight little curd or set that is created by the gelatine. So the last thing you want to do, and some of the recipe instructions on the back of your Panna Cotta of your gelatine leaf will say add all 12 leaves to a liter of Panna Cotta. That's if you actually want to sit on the Panna Cotta and throw them against the wall. They are no good for eating. You want that lovely soft little gel that we get from the 4 sheets of gelatine. So follow my recipe definitely. What we're going to do is, that's a very soft texture, and I'm always, when I'm planning a beautiful dessert and when I'm planning to get a round of applause for my gorgeous dessert, I'm planning not only flavor, I'm planning color, and I'm also planning texture. So we need something crunchy. What we're going to do is a very quick and easy chocolate toffee. Now this can be made also in advance, so this is also very good for planning dinner parties and that kind of thing. It also can be made just before you need it. So if you've ever made a sugar toffee before, you will need, for this recipe, you can't substitute, like I said, for the Panna Cotta itself. We could even go keto with that and use one of those sweeteners. We can have the cream and the gelatine, and you can make it completely keto or sugar-free or dairy-free. But with this one, we have to resort to good old-fashioned sugar, and that's the only thing that's going to snap for us. So adding some sugar in there, and when we're making a toffee, it's generally 1 part of sugar to half part of water. So what I'm going to do is just dissolve the sugar in there to make a lovely clear sugar syrup, and then we're going to boil it nice and hot and fast. I always say boil it swear word hot, so you don't have to wait any extra time. Just get it boiling really, really nice and quickly. I'm shaking it as I go just to dissolve the sugar as I go, and all we need now is a little bit of time and a little bit of love, and this will go beautiful in caramel. You're going to smell it before you see it. So that's still on nice and swear word hot, and please don't be intimidated by this. Even though it sounds very chefy, it is very easy indeed. Remember, we're just making sugar and water into gorgeous toffee. Now, in terms of work surfaces, you might not always want to use your beautiful countertop at home. So these little bathroom tiles are a very good alternative for pastry work or sugar work or anything like that. So all I do is, because they're very mobile and easy to use, so I'm just going to spray that down with a bit of canola spray. This is a very good trick because you do not want this sticking to that surface. And I can actually smell this beautiful caramel forming. It's a lovely light color, and please don't put your finger in here at this stage. It is very swear word hot. The most efficient way to use our toffee is just to pour it out onto that tile there. This will set, and then I can put it in my pestle and mortar and make a beautiful sugar gravel or a toffee gravel, which sounds very expensive indeed. You can also, using 2 forks, drizzle this out into a beautiful cake topper or anything like that. I can also spin sugar at this time over the top of a croquembouche, but that's for another time altogether. So I just wanted to show you how to do that. That can be made in advance, and then you can put that in the fridge or freezer in a Ziploc bag or something that is going to keep it nice and safe. But I always like to show you how versatile this is. At this stage, I'm going to add some beautiful chocolate to this toffee, and we're going to make a very signature chocolate toffee for that, which is going to be absolutely fabulous. So all I'm doing is stirring some of that shaved chocolate. You can use chocolate buttons at this stage into our very hot toffee, just with a wooden spoon. And this is also going to set into a very, very, very sexy chocolate toffee gravel for us. So just be careful when working with this, guys, because it's very hot. And just pour that out onto our greased surface. Oh, that is a puddle of trouble for sure. Absolutely gorgeous. The smell is amazing. So everything is beautifully set, guys, and we could practically eat it as it is with its lovely little sexy wobble out of that glass. But we always want to try and get our round of applause. So this is where we need to work just a little bit harder, and it can be so. So I've got a little slate plate. These are like little cheese boards that you can get at your local kitchen shop, and that's really going to help pop out some color and make it look very expensive when we do it. Just some dairy cream and a spoon, and we can make a very elegant little cream circle there. That'll really give some texture to the plate. And then of course we have our toffee glass here, which is now set, and all I do is it's quite satisfying just dropping that, and it all bashes up and cracks up. I've got a little pestle and mortar here. Be careful when you're grabbing that up. It can go under the nails, and it is as sharp as glass. We've all done that before. So that's lovely toffee, and what I'm going to add to that are some pistachios. So pistachios work very well with desserts. I love the beautiful color, I love the flavor, and of course they look extremely expensive, and your guests will feel how you feel about them when you use beautiful sexy ingredients like that. We're just going to bash it up lightly, and this is when I like to call it a fancy name, something like dessert dust or dessert bling, or a dessert gravel, whatever you feel you can use on your guests at that particular point. And then what we can do is load it up onto, we're going to put it onto here, load up some of that beautiful culinary gravel. Now this is going to be beautiful because it really is going to give them something to crunch on, and it's going to really show off that silky texture of our panna cotta. So you can also use the toffee, the chocolate toffee that we've created there, anything that you prefer. And if you don't have anything fancy like this, guys, but you happen to have some meringues or anything like that, these can also be bashed up and make a very, very sexy dessert dust. So guys, that's all you need to do to make it really pop off the plate. I always use edible petals because they look really sophisticated and they really show that you have made a big effort. And the last thing left to do, guys, is eat it. Enjoy. I hope you enjoyed, guys. Thank you very much.